Welcome back to Scarlet and Maize. I'm Adam. This is Zach.
Hi.
Michigan is on a COVID pause after having 8 guys play against Rutgers, and then we're down to 5 scholarship players. They were down a few coaches against Michigan State. Purdue is already officially canceled for Tuesday night as well. They're supposed to go, of all schools, to against Illinois on Friday. We'll see if that happens. Honestly, I kind of hope not. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
They're catching this COVID pause right now, which honestly sucks because they're going to try and reschedule these games like they did last year.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have to cram in games against Michigan State, Illinois, and Purdue. Those are 3 of the best teams in the conference.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
That's rough.
It is not ideal. I don't even think they're going to be able to make up all of them, but we'll see.
Yeah, we should see.
Ohio State went to Indiana
Yeah.
and lost 67-51 after I said I didn't think Trace Jackson Davis was that good.
Yeah, he played really well, and I mean, Ohio State had a really bad night shooting. They shot 30% from the field when they've been shooting almost 50% on the season, and it's just a rough night on the road. I think they're still trying to work out some of the rust on their gears from the COVID pause, and then they bounced back against Northwestern. E.J. Liddell, who had been struggling shooting the last couple of games, he hit 5 threes. In the first 5 minutes of the game. It was 5 minutes into the game when he shot the 5th three. So it was like 5 minutes and 2 seconds into the game. He had 5 threes. Finished with 34 points and a career high with 34 points and 5 blocks. Ohio State in general also shot 44%. From the three-point line, despite their best shooter Arns being 0 for 5. I really like the way Branham's coming along, the true freshman. He just been balling out. Double figures the last 3 games, 24 points against Northwestern. He's just getting more comfortable, and I think he's had that willingness for him to drive to the basket and attack and finish at the rim and draw fouls has been really great addition to the team. He had 13 of his 24 points against Northwestern came at the free throw line.
Man.
And yeah, I like the Buckeyes. I like the way they played against Northwestern, shooting the ball really well. It's just nice when you have a team that everyone on the team shoots from the 3 really well. There's not I don't know if I couldn't name a bad shooter from three-point line that plays significant minutes.
Right. I warned you then about Northwestern that it might not be a rollover game. They beat Northwestern 95-87.
Yeah, I think it was closer than it looked. Ohio State was up double digits almost the whole game.
You mean it wasn't as close as it?
Yeah, it wasn't as close as it looked. They're up double digits almost the whole game. They came out really hot and had a big lead real early. And Northwestern was shooting the ball well too, but they were never able to I think that might have been the closest they came to making a comeback since the beginning of the game was within 8 points at the end of the game. Yeah. I think they might have been at 6 at one point actually.
Yeah. So E.J. Liddell went 3 for 12, 11 points against Indiana, while Trace Jackson Davis had 27 and 12 with 5 blocks. I mean, it's just a rough outing on the road. But then during the Northwestern game, you texted me and just said Liddell. So then I looked it up. I mean, like you said, 34 points, 5 of 7 from 3, started out 5 for 5, 5 blocks. Goodness gracious. Ohio State maybe was fortunate to have Liddell go off like that in this game, though, if it wasn't a blowout. I still think Ohio State is really good, but long term, it seems like there's just so many games are close. I don't know. Ken Pom only has him at number 21.
Well,
but they also have Liddell as the current National Player of the Year favorite.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
So it should be interesting down the stretch. Because we're not sure when Michigan plays next, we're just going to preview Ohio State's next games at number 23, Wisconsin on the 13th, and versus Penn State in Columbus on January 16th.
Yeah. So Ohio State has beat both these teams already. It's surprising. I looked at the schedule to see who had next. And Wisconsin was actually one of their biggest wins of the season, one of the games that hasn't been close. They won by 18. But I do think Wisconsin's drastically improved. I don't think they've lost since that game. I could be wrong, though. But they're just a different team from the season. I think the Buckeyes will struggle on the road again. just like against Indiana. I think they'll just come up just short against Wisconsin, but then they'll bounce back against Penn State. Penn State's not that good. They beat Penn State on the road. I think it'll be even easier at home. They'll blow out Penn State.
Yeah,
Wheeler another chance to get back in his old team.
It's fun that we're on the same page. I just said the Troll Center is a tough place to win.
Yeah,
and I think Wisconsin's going to win in a close game. If Ohio State does win that game, it'll be fun to see how much E.J. Liddell scores.
Yeah.
So I'm taking Wisconsin with the win, and then Ohio State's going to beat Penn State again because Penn State sucks.
Yeah.
That's all we have for basketball because Michigan
Yeah.
is down to now 2 players, probably. So, whatever. But football coaching hypothetical. Do either of us feel differently about Harbaugh potentially leaving Michigan? I completely disregarded it last time, and I think you're mostly with me.
Yeah.
Do you feel different at all about Harbaugh potentially leaving?
I was surprised by the rumors that actually seemed like they had weight to it. He had said to the was it the recruit's parent that he said that he would listen to NFL offers. I doubt he goes anywhere this year. I don't feel that differently about it. I do think someday it makes sense for Harbaugh to end up back in the NFL. I just don't think it makes sense right now, coming off his best season.
Yeah, I mean, so he said that he's going to listen to NFL offers, and that if he went, then this player would have his first contact in the NFL already. Like he would be his first contact.
Yeah.
With whatever. I'm actually getting a little worried. A lot of people think he's still going to end up back at Michigan, but I mean, just the thought of it being open-ended like that is a little scary. I've read that because Harbaugh is 58 years old, this is probably the last time he's going to really look around. So it kind of makes sense to make sure of your next move. Last year showed that maybe he's not untouchable, even at Michigan, where he was like the golden boy when he first came in.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of when Beeline was looking at the NBA his last 2 years. Like he pulled himself out of the Pistons race because like he gave the Pistons a deadline, and then that date came, and he just said, "Oh, I'm going back to Michigan." They hired Dwayne Casey. I think they were always going to hire Dwayne Casey, but he was just like, "I don't want it to affect recruiting and whatever." And then he ended up leaving the next year, as we all know. But it's really like I think that Harbaugh is going to move on this year, or he's going to retire at Michigan. I hope he stays. I think he stays.
I don't necessarily agree with that just because of he has a resume in the NFL that was really successful. I think what he's done at Michigan hasn't been bad, and I don't think that would be a knock against him if he wanted an NFL job. I think if he wants to go to NFL, he'd have that opportunity every single offseason if he wanted to.
I think that he might have that opportunity, but I also think the window for their interest to him would be closing as he gets older.
That's true.
Because like if he hits 70.
Right, but he's only 58. That's 12 years from now.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying, 70. I feel like you're definitely not going to hire a 70-year-old guy to coach your team, right? But it's like where on the scale?
I do think it would probably happen in the next, probably closer to 3 years, but maybe 5 years. But past that, he didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if he leaves, it'll be now, and I hope he doesn't leave.
Yeah.
Even if he does stay, and even if he came out and said, "I'm staying. I want to retire at Michigan," we're still going to get rumors every year.
Yeah.
But whatever. So we decided, because there's such little stuff to talk about right now, we're going to say, for me, if Harbaugh leaves, what's my realistic top 3 for replacements? And then for Zach, if Ryan Day left, who would your top 3?
Yeah, they both had rumors about them going to the NFL. A lot of people want to say Ryan Day is going to the Bears. I don't think there's a chance that happens, but yeah.
I also didn't think there was a chance Harbaugh was going to leave.
But it just seems weird that Ryan Day has made all these coaching changes already this offseason. It just seems weird. Why do that other than just peace out?
I mean, Harbaugh's interviewing people for the D-line coaching position too.
Yeah.
Still, but we'll see. If Harbaugh leaves, my realistic top 3 candidates for replacement. So this is in no real order, but one is Josh Gaddis. He's familiar with the college game. He's familiar with Michigan. He'd probably be good for recruiting stability within the current class and stuff. It's funny, just like Harbaugh, last year everyone hated him. This year everyone loves him. He won the Broyles Award. Harbaugh won the Coach of the Year Award, whatever. I mean, I don't know that there's much to say other than he's been around. Then Mike Hart could become offensive coordinator. Defensive coordinator could stay the same.
Yeah.
Whatever. Again, this is in no real order, but second, Mike Hart. I don't want him to be the top choice. To me, it's kind of like the Jawan type hire.
Yeah.
He hasn't been a head coach, but he's been a successful assistant.
Yeah.
I like Mike McDonald, but I don't know how much I would want him to take over the whole program. Just because I'm not sure of his understanding everything about the college game to run an entire program.
Yeah, I have a similar honorable mention for the same reasons I didn't put him on my top 3. Yeah.
But, I mean, what do I know? Not as much as Mike McDonald. Whatever. So, Josh Gaddis, Mike Hart, in no real order. Cade McNamara, hear me out. You can keep him around while still making J.J. McCarthy the starting quarterback. He's a great leader, great motivator. He can fire up the locker room. No, for real, I was having a hard time thinking of a third. I came up with Mark Stoops because he's done pretty well at Kentucky, especially for it being Kentucky, and he's a pretty good recruiter. I would take Mark Stoops over Matt Campbell, for instance. Like, people say, oh, Matt Campbell, he lost a lot this year, but he's at Iowa State. I would say Mark Stoops is at Kentucky, and I think he's had more wins.
Yeah.
They've played more tough teams. If I had to put an order on it, so it's funny, I had a hard time thinking about a third that I could get myself excited about that's realistic. But if I had to put an order on it, I might even say my first choice would be Stoops, second Gaddis, third Mike Hart, fourth Cade McNamara.
I do like Stoops a lot. That's one name that I'd even seen when some bullcrap rumor about Ryan Day leaving. Mark Stoops was a name that I saw that somebody was saying that they would like as a hire at Ohio State, and I wouldn't mind that at all either. Yeah. But not on my list?
Yeah.
Okay, so my number 1 on my list is, he has no connection to Ohio State at all, but I just think he's done a great job this is his first year at South Carolina, Shane Beamer. I just think he's been really impressive. He took I think they were 3-9 team to a winning record, and South Carolina just is bad. They're bad, and they have a winning record this year. I think that was really impressive. And now he's bringing in Spencer Rattler, a solid transfer, a top recruit. He played well at Oklahoma despite being benched this year. I still think he's a solid quarterback. I think it'll be interesting to see what he does this next year, but I just love his attitude. I saw an interview of him recently, and I just was like, I love this guy. And I think it was awesome. He was willing to do the Mayo bath in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, and he just seems like a great guy that just loves football and loves.
He also almost took a concussion for the Mayo bath. But.
Number 2 on my list, and this is no real order for me either. Number 2 is obviously Luke Fickle. That honestly seems like he's either a Cincinnati head coach for life, or he's just waiting for Ryan Day to leave and to take the Ohio State job.
I wonder with Luke Fickle if Ryan Day says no to the NFL and he's like, no, I want to retire at Ohio State. Notre Dame just hired a new coach. Yeah. Ohio State has a coach. Is he going to stay at Cincinnati, or would he be like, forget it, I'm going to move on to a bigger school?
They're moving up to the Power 5. He's been really successful. I know he's a family man and doesn't want to move around a lot. He's got a lot of kids. And
maybe the worst of the Power 5 conferences, especially once Texas and Oklahoma leave.
But Texas and Oklahoma didn't make the Big 12 better this year. So
that's a good point.
But yeah, I think Luke Fickle would be a great hire. Although he was 6-7 his interim year with Ohio State in 2011, they had a lot of guys that unexpectedly left for the draft or transferred or were suspended, and he also had a true freshman quarterback starting.
He's also winless against Michigan, so I'm for it.
It was closer than the game should have been, to be honest. But I just think at this point, it really feels like he's either Cincy for life or he's waiting for the Ohio State job to open up. Or if Ryan Day's there for a really long time, maybe he just ends up being Cincy for life because the Ohio State job never opens up. And but I do think he would be a great coach at Ohio State. He's done a phenomenal job at Cincinnati and turned them around, and they're a consistent competitor for the American Conference. Now they're going to join the Big 12. Let's see how they fare there. I think it'll be interesting. Number 3 for me is Mike Rabel, who has been really successful at Tennessee. Was a great player in the NFL, a former Buckeye. I think that could benefit him in recruiting, being so successful at the NFL, coaching and playing. And I just think I don't know if he is interested in the college game, but I think if he was, interested, Ohio State would be the team to go to, and I just think Mike Rabel would do a good job there, and I like Mike Rabel.
The one thing I think of whenever I hear Mike Vrabel's name is when he was because he used to be an assistant at Ohio State, right?
Yeah.
I read about he would walk through the locker room and he would literally be dripping in like icy hot. And it grosses me out, and I don't want Mike Vrabel anywhere near college football because of it. It's like if I saw him, I'd be like, yeah, that's just a little too much.
My honorable mention that I mentioned earlier is Brian Hartline, who's the wide receivers coach, former
just
Buckeye.
Just got promoted,
a successful wide receiver in the NFL as well. He wasn't a star by any means, but he did have some solid years with the Dolphins, and But yeah, he just got promoted to passing game coordinator. I think he's one of the best recruiters in college football. The wide receivers, since he's been there, like Ohio State's wide receivers have always been good, but they've clearly taken another step up
once Zach Smith left.
Yes, once Zach Smith left. Brian Hartline, once he's been there, they've taken a step up. He has recruited better and, in my opinion, developed better the wide receivers at Ohio State. And I just think the players love him. I always like when it was announced that he was promoted to passing game coordinator, there was players all over Twitter, former players, current players, just raving about how great Brian Hartline is. And I think he's a Buckeye for life. Honestly, like even if people start offering him other jobs, it really seems like the way he's talked, at least, and like throughout his years at Ohio State, it seems like he could probably go be a coach somewhere else for a lot more money. Maybe as offense coordinator, as something more expanded, but it doesn't seem like he has interest in that.
Yeah.
And I do think that if Brian Hartline were to become the head coach, I would hope it would be a few years down the line where he has more experience at an expanded role.
Right.
Yeah.
Tweet of the week?
Mine is EJ Liddell. This is from Ohio State on Big Ten Network. The Twitter account is the first D1 player with 30 points, 5 blocks, and 5 threes in a game since at least 2010, and he just balled out against Northwestern. It was really fun to watch.
Yeah.
The fifth three he hit, I was just like, there's no way, and that was right when I texted you.
Yeah, he's really good, and it really bums me out. Mine is from Patrick Barron. I've decided that the real national championship is the friendships we made along the way. Not conference championships, though. Those are still real. It's like it was a great season. I mean, I'd take it.
Yeah, it was a great season. Congrats to Michigan. Sucks they couldn't do anything in the playoffs. At least they scored some points.
I agree. There's a rumor that part of Harbaugh coming back to Michigan would be requiring more NIL stuff, more support staff, more. So
the NIL stuff.
He wants to. He knows about the talent gap. He wants to get over the hump. He wants all that stuff. So they better friggin' keep him. They better get that stuff for him. Because just like we talked about it before, I was asked about the national championship game. I was like, I don't care. I've seen this movie. I don't want to see it again.
Yeah.
It's boring.
Whoever wins, I'm just like, dang it.
Let's let Ohio State. Let's take the weight off their shoulders of always being the best school in the Big Ten. Michigan already relieved that pressure this year. Let's keep that burden off of them.
Oh man! Speaking of NIL stuff, I saw on Twitter that I don't know who the guy was. I'd never heard of him. Is starting basically a fan ran, like you can donate to them and they're gonna pay Ohio State players through they'll have to do charity work basically, I think, and then they'll get paid money. And it's funny because Cardell Jones is gonna be basically the GM of it. I just think it's really fun. I think it'll be huge for Ohio State and the whole NIL stuff. They already lost players like Quinn Ewers and.
Did Cardell Jones ever get a degree?
Yeah, he did.
He didn't come to play school.
He did.
So.
He put that tweet on his graduating cap too. It was really funny.
What a guy.
We didn't come to college to play school. Whatever. Didn't come to Ohio State to play school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why Ohio State has been more successful.
Cardell Jones looks like the grown-up version of Kid President, but.
All right. With that, buy your snacks, your chip dip at Quality Dairy.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. Go Blue.
Go Buckeyes.